You had one of those days, this is to my moms out there, and I guess my working dads too, but my mompreneurs, my moms who work from home, don't work in an office, but maybe even you do work in an office. You know that you've got a million and one things to do, but your child gets sick and your child is home with you for like 2 or 3 days. What do you do? How do you manage it all? How do you still get things done? That's what I'm going to talk to you about today. I hope everyone is well. And I'm talking to you about it because that's the situation that I'm in. That's the situation that I have been in for the past, he's 10, I would say since he was 4 years old. And you know what? I've had to learn how to manage, how to run my business, grow my business anyway. And so I want to share that with you today. If you don't know me, you haven't met me before, what's up? My name is Twana Smith. Nice to meet you. I'm a travel writer, travel influencer. I'm also a live video strategist. The thing that I love doing the most is planning retreats for women. I use travel as a form of respite. And so my mission is to show other women, working women, entrepreneurial women, how to do that, how to use travel as a form of respite, but also as a way for them to get away, get clarity in their life, run their business, and do the things that they want to do. I'm home right now and my son is upstairs, and we went to the doctor yesterday. We went to the doctor on Friday. I think we had therapy on Thursday. And when you have a situation like that where your child is like that, where you've got things lined up, you've got your date book, you've got your planner, you've got your appointments, you have to figure out, well, how do I work my life? Good morning. Around is that when you have children, you have to account for that. You have to account that they're going to get sick. Hopefully you have 2 parents at home. If you don't have 2 parents at home, then it all falls on you. Sometimes when it is 2 parents at home, it still all falls on one person. And a lot of the times it tends to be the mother. And so you need to figure out, well, what do I still need to do in order to get things done? And here's what we need to do. The first thing we need to do, moms, is give ourselves grace and give our children grace, because they're going to get sick. They're in schools, they're in preschools, they're in playgrounds, they're around, it's a petri dish, it's around a lot of germs. And so that's just the reality. And so having contingency plans and having systems for yourself to allow you to get through it is the most important thing. But not the most important thing. I would say that's the second most important thing. The first and most important thing is that you have to give yourself grace. When my youngest son, when he was already dealing with autism, but when the leukemia came into the picture, then we really had to figure out, well, how do we adjust our lives? My husband, he was going to still continue working because, when someone has a critical illness like that, or someone has a special need, there needs to be a parent that's going to be continuing to bring the funds in full time. And there needs to be a parent that might have to move to a part-time situation or maybe a quarter-time situation so that they can be there for the child, so that they can support in the way that they need to support. And that means, creating all of the appointments, talking to therapists, talking to teachers, still educating the child, still doing the things that you need to do to get that child to grow and to rear that child. But then you also need to make sure that you're taking care of yourself, because you have your own aspirations, you have your own things that you're working on, and maybe you want to be a productive part of society or a productive part of your household and be bringing money in. And so you have to figure out, well, how do you balance both of those things? The first thing is make sure you're giving yourself grace, your child grace. Your child is sick. They're number one. You've got to take care of them. Figure out how to get them better as quickly as possible so that you can get them back into, society, back into school, back into their situation, right? But when you are home, one of the things that really serves mompreneurs really, really well, besides having particular systems in place, is to also make sure that they have assistants in place. So that might be a virtual assistant. That might be someone that comes into the home part-time that maybe helps you with some things around the house. You could get yourself an intern. You can see if a neighbor has a teenager that can help you out. Maybe you've got a friend or an elderly person in your church or in your community or your family that can come in and help take some of the burden off of your shoulders. We don't necessarily have that situation where we have family that lives in town, but we do have friends. We do have the luxury of me being able to work from home and, make things work. So working from home, I still have to produce. I still have to do all of the things that I would be doing if I was in an office setting. And so what I focus on is, instead of trying to do the 1.5 million things, I focus on trying to do one thing. Like, what's really kind of the most important thing that I need to do for the day? And I start off with that first, right? I start off with that first. And I use my time very, very strategically. So if I know my child is going to be home, for instance, maybe I need to wake up earlier, right? Or if I know the night before that they're going to be home, maybe that means that I stay up later and do things. It might mean that I have to have my husband pick up the slack in certain things, or maybe I'm giving more responsibility to my older child. If you have another child in the house, telling them, hey, you know what? I'm going to need you to wash the clothes, or I'm going to need you to do the dishes. My son already does that anyway. I trained him to do that because I want him to be independent. Like, when he moves himself out of this house, I want him to know how to do dishes. I want him to know how to clean his house, clean himself, and clean his clothes. So I started him on that track early. I don't want him to be a man that is dependent on a woman in that, in that way. But, I might give my older son more responsibility. You might think of ordering food in instead of you having to cook the food, that particular day when your child is home. Perhaps you give your virtual assistant, or you ask a friend of yours, hey, can you do this for me? Hey, can you pick this up for me? Maybe you need to put an email automated message on there to tell people that you're away and you'll be back at your desk, whatever, you're traveling. I don't know. You don't have to lie about it, but just say that you're unavailable for the next couple of days, so that when the emails come in, the expectations are there. And if you have assignments that are going on, this is the thing that's really important, especially if you work on campaigns, especially if you're a writer and you've got deadlines, you've got assignments, then, it is just a call or it's an email to let the people know where you have deliverables for them. Hey, you know what? I'm going to be a little bit delayed because my child is sick. Most people are understanding. If they're not understanding, then do that job and be done with that person, because that might not be in alignment with your life. And so you have to make sure that you're dealing with people that are in alignment with who you are as a woman. I was reading this article on LinkedIn a couple of weeks ago that talked about the discrimination that workers of, like, parents who decided to stay at home and raise their kids but come back to the workforce, what they face. And the fact of the matter is that you have a lot of younger workers, so maybe they're millennials that might be in managerial positions, or maybe they're not millennials, but they don't necessarily understand, or they don't necessarily support the movement of the parents that decided to stay at home to raise their children and then come back into the workforce. And you have to deal with that, right? But that particular those hiring managers and those companies that deal in that way might not be in alignment with who you are as a person, because quite honestly, the parents that do come back to the workforce after staying and raising their children, they have so much to offer. And it's unfortunate that there's this stigma against them, that whatever the stigma is. They're amazing managers, amazing multitaskers, and amazing people who bring things to the workforce, right? So, again, making sure that you are working with people who are in alignment with you, right? But the first thing that you do is you focus on one thing. That's it. We're all inundated with 50 million things, and we're trying to do 50 million things even when you don't have kids, you've got 50 million things. Or even when your kids are healthy, you're trying to do 50 million things. When they're sick, that's the last thing you need to do, right? That's the last. But you have to come in, right? There aren't enough hours in the day, right? And as a single woman, Tess, you can attest to that. Can you imagine all of the things that you have on your plate? They might be the same things that I have on my plate. And then adding a sick child into it. How am I supposed to manage that, right? The point is that I'm not supposed to try and manage it all. I'm not. I'm supposed to manage one thing, right? The most important thing is that I manage my child, but the next important thing is that I manage the most important thing. So when you look at that long list, you're not focusing, right? You're not, I don't know how we do it either, girl. You're not focused. I do know how we do it. That's what I'm talking about right now. You're not trying to do everything, right? Because a lot of times the things that are on our list are unnecessary, right? When you look at your list, like, do I really need to get on Facebook and get into that group and talk to that person or whatever? Do I really need to engage? And that's what some of us need to learn how to do, is that we need to disengage and take ourselves out of situation. Because I tell you one thing, this phone right here and all of the alerts and all of the platforms and all of the different things that we can do within this phone, we wonder where time goes. Time goes into this phone. A lot of our time gets lost because we're doing this, right? We're doing this. Imagine if you took your phone and you put it away in another room on another floor and you focus on that. Guess what? You would be productive. Because a lot of people have asked me those questions over the years. How did you still manage to, keep building Mom's Guide to Travel? How do you manage to keep traveling? How do you manage to keep, having campaigns and working with brands and doing stuff on TV and doing all of those things? And my goal is to show them how you do it, even with the circumstances of having a child with autism or a child with special needs or having a child with, a critical illness like leukemia. How do you still do it, right? And the truth of the matter is that it requires, one, giving myself grace, but it also requires me focusing on like one specific thing. So instead of me being on Periscope and Twitter and, Periscope is connected to Twitter, and Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat and this and that, no, not dividing my focus in 15 million areas, but putting my focus on one area instead of it being divided into so many different areas. And this is actually one of the strategies that I choose to teach people, which is I'm going to create content because I'm a content creator. I'm going to create content on one platform and figure out how I can use it across multiple platforms. You see what I'm saying? So here's one of the strategies, right? Remember I told you guys about focusing on one thing? That is what I said. After you give yourself grace, because your child is sick, and you focus on getting them better, you focus on the one most important thing for you to do for the day. So the most important thing for you to do for the day, here's an example, is to create content. What is the easiest way for you to create content? So see, your easiest way to create content might not be doing a video. You might have your hangups about getting on camera, right? So if that's not the easiest way to do it, don't do it. Maybe it's your easiest way to do it is create a graphic, create a photo and put it on Instagram. Maybe your easiest way to create content, the first thing that you do is writing a piece of content. Maybe your easiest way of creating content is to do audio, right? So once you do that first piece of content, now you need to go back and figure out how can I reuse that content in multiple ways so that I can put it on all of those platforms that I'm ignoring and not showing up on in that particular way. The easiest way to do that piece of content. So if I'm going to tell you that doing the video is the easiest way to do the content, so here's the strategy. Periscope is the vehicle in which I reach the women that I need to reach, right? I create the video. Once the video is done, the video gets turned into maybe a piece of audio. Maybe now that video gets transcribed. So we take important points from the video and it's written out as a piece of content, right? So now you've got a blog post, which is text, because everybody doesn't want to watch a video. Now you've got the video, which you can maybe repurpose to Instagram in some way. Cut it up, repurpose to Instagram. Take the video, if you saved it to your phone, put it on your website, embed it into your website, right? Load it up to YouTube. All right, so now that content is across multiple platforms. We've made some important points in the video. We go back and we take quotes, and now we can make graphics, and we can take those graphics and put that on Instagram. Maybe we can create a Pinterest board of it. Maybe we can create a SlideShare. So you know what? I am spilling all the tea. I'm trying to give people strategies to let them know, hey, this is how you do it, right? This is how you still show up. Even when you've got all of these things on your shoulders, you can still show up. You just need to be strategic about it. You need to tell yourself, okay, you know what? I cannot be Superwoman for everybody. Don't try to be Superwoman, because Superwoman she never gets saved, right? Right. No, we're not trying to be Superwoman. We're just trying to be good enough for us and good enough for our family. And then everyone else comes second, right? So you create that one thing. The easiest way it is for you to create the thing, as long as I have been able to show up for one person one person gets something from this, I am good. And maybe I don't hear that person tell me that day. That's fine. I know that as long as I put it out there in the ether, as long as it's out there, someone is going to see it. So anyway, you show up. No, Superwoman never gets saved. So I don't like when people call me Supermom, because I'm not trying to wear a cape. I want to get saved, right? I'm going to let you know, I have been through the valley with sickness, child sickness. My child had leukemia. He is 2 years in remission. So we know about being through the fire of having a sick child. And he's home today. It's not anything like that. You know, he just has a virus, whatever. Epilepsy. So you understand that, right? So epilepsy is a critical chronic illness that happens. You know, that's nothing that leaves your life. You understand what I'm saying? Like, epilepsy is something that's pretty much always going to be there. So then you've got to figure out, how do I continue to follow my dreams? How do I continue to still be me, right? Team Toy. How do I still be me and follow all those things, but still respecting that I need to be there for my child? And that's really hard sometimes for a mom, because we cradle this like mom guilt. Should I still want to pursue all of the things that I want to do? Should I still want to travel? I'm just telling you, right? And I am sending you love too, because I understand where you are coming from. And I had those days where I was like, oh my gosh, you know, I have this dream, I have this passion, this thing that I want to do, even just talking to women, but I have to travel to talk to women, but I can't do that because I actually need to be here for my son. And I feel guilty for still wanting to get away. Let me tell you something, don't feel guilty. You cannot feel guilty about that. It is hard, but you can't feel guilty about it. As long as you're doing 100% what you can do for your child, then you've got to release that guilt. Guess what? God has given you that child to take care of and to cradle. And what you need to do is to show up 100% for them so that you can then go take care of you. And as long as you're doing that, that's when you have to release the guilt. Let me tell you, when my son got diagnosed, I stayed in that hospital with him every day, because there's an induction period. And the induction period with cancer and with leukemia, depends what type of leukemia you have, 30 days that we needed to be in that hospital getting chemotherapy to attack. Thank you so much. 30 days. I stayed in that bed with my child every day for 30 days. My husband would come and mother-in-law would come, go out, go get a break. No, I'm not doing it, because I need to show up and be here for my son every single day, know exactly what's going on, learn everything that I needed to know. I needed to get me a nurse degree within 30 days to understand all the drugs, do my research, understand how they're administering it, understand, you know, who's who, what does who do. You understand what I'm saying? All of these things, like all the knowledge, I had to put that in my head, but also be there for him, because there's no better medicine than a mother's love, right? A mother's love can get your child through so many different things. And so for me, that is what I needed to provide for my child, in addition to prayers, in addition to the chemotherapy, right? So by the grace of God, I was able to be there, and I was able to show up in that way and give him everything that he needed, because I am going to be his number one advocate, right? So I worked hard. When those 30 days were up and it was time for me to get a break, I took a break without guilt, because I showed up 100%. And I knew that after I got my break, I was going to come back and show up 100% and be there for him 100%. So I don't take on anyone else's words and processes as guilt. None of that, because that has nothing to do with me. That has everything to do with them. So you're not going to take on anybody's words and use that as guilt, because I know a lot of times in mom communities, moms like to guilt each other, right? You're not going to take that on. That is not your responsibility to take that on. That's their own thing that they need to deal with. Here's the thing. When people throw guilt at you, when people throw shade at you, when people throw negative anything at you, it's not really about you. It's about them. It's them looking at a reflection that they don't necessarily like. And so that is, you know, their deflection of things that they need to deal with. It has nothing to do with you. See, as soon as you understand that, you know, that person's angst, that person's whatever has nothing to do with me, you will repel anything that anyone says, honestly. Like, it's not about what they think. It's not about what they think. I'll share this really personal with you. I remember when my son, my oldest son was 1 year old, the first person to try and give me mom's guilt was my mom. My mom was like, hey, he was 13 months old, and my mom was like, oh, you're gonna go away skiing and leave the baby? Okay, first of all, he's not a baby, he's 13 months, and I'm not leaving him with a stranger, I'm leaving him with his dad. Absolutely, I'm going skiing. Actually, I was going snowboarding with my best friend at the time. I was like, yeah, I'm going snowboarding. I'm getting a break. I've been with him every single day for 13 months. Like, I can get a break, you know? But see, my mom is coming from a different, she's coming from a different generation, right? She's a boomer. They just didn't do things the way maybe the Generation Xers do it, or the way the millennials do it. There's different. And so I had to also give my mom grace and be like, you know what, she doesn't understand. I tell my sister, I don't take my mom's guilt on to me, because we're different women, right? And I'm not going to be my mom. My mom's not going to be me. And so I wasn't mad at her. I was just like, that's not how I roll. Like, yes, I'm going to get my break, because I don't want to be looking 80 when I'm 80. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to still live life. And I don't think that it's an either or. I don't think that I have to sacrifice my things that I want to pursue. I think that by pursuing the things that I want to pursue and continue to do that, then I'm actually setting an example for my kids, right? Like, that's the example that I want to set for them. So now when I hear words come out of my 14-year-old's mouth, I'm just like, oh, praise be to God. That's because, he saw me do certain things, right? We set the example for them. And so I want to set the example for him. And I want him, when he gets married one day, that, his wife, he tells his wife, go ahead, girl, honey, go on, get your time. Because you know what? That's what I saw my mother do. She got her time. You understand? So I'm setting an example for him. I don't want him to think that his wife needs to be chained to the kitchen or whatever, and then he and his wife are breaking up. You understand? So my husband and I have a great relationship, because I get my time, he gets his time. I go on my trips, he goes on his trips. We go on our family trips together, right? So it's important. It's very, very important that who you are, you stand tall in who you are, regardless of what other people say, right? So the things that you choose to do have to be in alignment with you, who you are, and you're not trying to appease somebody else. It's really not about that. It's not about that. It's about you keeping your responsibilities in front of you and putting it in 100% to your primary responsibility, which is your children, which is your family. And when you put in 100%, 1,000% of that, why should you feel guilty? Why should you feel guilty taking care of you? Right? So this is the thing that I want to preach to moms is, self-care is not selfish. And so you do your 1,000%. You do your most important thing for the day. You get your child healthy. You get your child comfortable. And then when you have time left over, because you will, you go and focus on that most important thing that you have to get done for the day. You cannot give if your cup is empty. This is an empty cup. Do I have anything to offer you through this cup? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But now if I go away and I'm filling up this cup with goodness, now look what's in this cup. Now I can share this with you, because I gotta give y'all an example. My cup is full. Now I can share with you. All right? I can give you half, and I can give you more. Even if I emptied out my cup on you, no problem. I had something to give. Now guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go back and fill up my cup. I'm gonna go back and fill up my cup. Now my cup is full again. So now the next person that needs me, because their cup is empty, no problem. I can give them out of my cup. If it's empty, I can't give you nothing. I can't share anything with you. I cannot share anything with you. So it is not selfish. What's selfish is you trying to share with people from an empty cup. I have nothing to give to you. That's what's selfish. So I can be there. You know, it's important that you make sure that you are filling that cup up, that you are, you know, playing 100% for your child first. That's the first thing that you're going to do, first thing that you want to do. And then you're going to focus on what is that most important thing. Focus on what that most important thing is. When this is the other trick. When times are quiet, it's really important for you to take advantage of when times are quiet. So that could just be, hear me when I say this, that could just be 1 hour when your child is asleep and doesn't need you. Or that could be like everything is okay, no one needs you right now. Maybe it's maybe it's an hour, maybe it's a week, maybe it's when it's quiet. It might be early in the morning, it might be late at night, it might be, you know, again, over the course of a month, 2 months. But this is why I travel. This is why I travel. This is the sweet spot. When you travel on your own, without the family, right? Because hear me when I say that you need to do that if you're a mom. When you travel and you're away from your husband and your kids, or your partner and your kids, or your dog and your kids, and you're on that plane or in that car, on that train or bus, boat, whatever you're doing, and you have a bit of quiet, that is the time when you need to be doing all your strategizing. That's the time when you need to figure out how you're going to take over the world. Like, that is your quiet time. Whether that, you know, and if you can't get that in your house, if you're telling me that you can't get that in the morning, or you can't get that in the afternoon, or you can't get that in the evening, that's even more of a reason for you to take yourself out of your everyday situation. Even, I'm not saying that you can have to do it for a week. Maybe it's just overnight. Maybe just like, hey, you know what? I need to get away for a day, for a night, and just handle my brain for a second, right? You have to strategize in a quiet time. And sometimes you have to go seek the quiet in order to do that if you're not getting it at home. Because I hear you when you say that it's not quiet, when you barely can get quiet time at home. Believe me when I say I hear you. So when it's quiet, that's the time when you need to do your strategy work. Okay, who do I need in my back pocket to support whatever it looks like for you? But sometimes you need to be removed from all of this, right? All of this, and be in a place where there's nothing there that you own. There's nothing there that you need to clean up, nothing there that you need to manage. I am the most creative when I'm on a plane, when I'm on a beach, when I'm sitting on a train. I look out, I look into the sky, I see nothing but clouds. Or if I'm on the train, I look out, I see the trees. I'm talking about Amtrak. I see nothing but trees. And that's when thoughts come to me. That's when I can meditate. So that's super important for you to remember, is 100% focus on your child. Focus on making sure they're comfortable. Go hard for them so that you can relieve yourself of any guilt. And then now you can go back up and refill your cup. And now you can enjoy this cup for yourself, right? Because you've already poured 100% into them. And you did the other, you know, you're taking your energy to focus on the most important thing that you need to do for yourself. Small wins are excellent, right? But I want you to keep that in perspective. So you want to make sure that you're still, this is specifically if you're working from home, that you're doing the most important thing. So do that most important thing first, and then go ahead and do all the smaller things, okay? So I hope that, you know, I provided some strategies that served some of you. Even if you don't have kids, you know, you might be sick. Somebody in your family might be sick. Follow that strategy. The one most important thing is what you're going to focus on. Figure that out. Every Sunday or Saturday or Monday, whatever, you should have a plan for your week. Then when it's time for you to pick up your notebook, pick up your planner, you know exactly what you're doing. So even if somebody gets sick and I might have, can you see, like 3 different things on here, I know that there's one most important thing that I need to take care of, and I'm going to take care of it, and I'm going to handle it, right? And I'm done. Moms, please, 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 please not feel guilty about pouring into yourself. Please do not feel guilty about, pursuing the things that you need to do, even if you have a sick child, because I'm going to tell you, if I can do it with a child who has autism and leukemia, you can do it as well. You can do it as well. But play hard for them so that you can then play hard for yourself. All right? And keep it 100%. And do not focus on that mom guilt that anyone else puts on you. I need us all to proclaim that we're going to reject everyone else's stuff, because that's what it is. That's other people's stuff. It's not our stuff. It's not your stuff. They have no relevance to your life in that way. All right? All right. Thank you, guys. I'll see you later. Have a good one. Bye.